I am Elizabeth Rowe, and I'm an executive and leadership coach, and I'm based in Boston, Massachusetts. So I came to learn about the Coaching Success School through another coach, actually a coach who is on the faculty of the school now, Lisa Husseini. And I had been introduced to the Steve Chandler Prosperous Coach approach to client creation and always was drawn to that service-based approach and really was seeking out guidance about how to really integrate that into my business. So I was aware of it, but wasn't really fully clear on what it looked like to put it into action in my business. Before I joined the school, I was working full time as the principal flutist of the Boston Symphony Orchestra. So that was my career. That's how I spent my life. That was my entire professional focus up until very recently when I pivoted to becoming a coach full time. So when I joined the school, I was coaching part time and performing full time as an orchestral musician. And I think I had about six clients and I was charging a pretty solid fee and was starting to move into some spaces that were new to me. So my very first clients were creative types and performers and musicians. And now most of the people I work with are in very different spaces, in corporate spaces, in the sciences, in medicine. And right when I joined the school, I was starting to move into those kinds of spaces and really seeking out guidance about how I could show up in the world and position myself successfully to be working with those kinds of clients. I made a really fast decision to join the school. I make decisions based a lot on just strong inner guidance. And I had Lisa's recommendation, and then I had one conversation with Carolyn Freyer-Jones, and she has this gorgeous balance of like very practical, real, tactical advice and direction, and this just beautiful, warm, loving style of coaching that I just immediately knew was what I needed, especially at that stage in my life where I was building my business and I was also starting to contemplate this big, huge personal question of mine, which was whether I was going to make a significant career transition. And just having her in my corner as I started to navigate that felt really important to me. My expectations for the school, well, first of all, I didn't really know what to expect. I just had a sense that that was the place that I needed to be. I went in kind of open-minded and I knew that I wanted to grow my business and that I wanted to get stronger in my enrollment skills. And beyond that, I really wasn't sure what to expect. And it was different and more than I imagined. I was in the school for 3 years, and when I first joined, when I think back about it, I flew to Los Angeles for the first weekend session of that year's school. And I showed up in this room and I had this distinct feeling that I somehow, I definitely didn't know anybody. And then I also was like, all these people feel so warm and friendly and also like they know each other. And like, what is this thing? In that very first day, where the way the school is structured and the way that Carolyn kind of sets the tone. She has us interacting with each other almost immediately. And so it's like by the end of that very first weekend in the school, I felt like I knew this whole group of people, some of whom really did know each other from previous years in the school or from other contexts. And even though I was new to all of them and coming all the way from Boston, it was just a very warm, supportive, open, vulnerable, honest environment. And it was great. It was completely different from what I imagined and wonderful. Over the course of the 3 years in that school, I made the decision to step down from my job in the Boston Symphony. I stepped down from my job in the Boston Symphony. I transitioned from being a coach who had six clients, which was a full load for me, while I had 6 to 9 clients while I was doing that part time. And now I have a full roster of 12, sometimes up to 14, 15 clients at a time. And I've maintained a waiting list. I am doing all sorts of work that I just couldn't imagine doing 3 years ago. I work with teams inside of corporate environments. I host live events. I have given workshops. I have enrolled clients from all different walks of life and all different stages of life. Yeah, it's been kind of extraordinary. And I pinch myself sometimes when I think that at this point my roster is full. And there was a time when I sort of wondered, like, what is the magical formula to make that happen? And here I am, and I've raised my rates during the course of the school also. And so I'm on track to be making an income that's, substantial and that is on par or going to surpass what I was able to earn in my full-time job before. So it's been a wild ride. There's been all sorts of creative solutions to messy problems that I've been part of, and the school's just been so valuable for me for all of that. I remember, I think it was even before the school officially launched in January, the Facebook group opens up in September, and then there are some group calls that happen in the fall. And there was some point in the fall of that first year before the program had even started, and I had been referred to somebody in a corporate environment as a potential coach for them. And they had worked or been interviewing and in conversation with lots of different coaches and just really hadn't found anybody. And somebody put my name forward as a coach that they thought might serve them. And she and I had a phenomenal connection. And following the sort of service oriented, service focused approach, we had two or three really long, deep coaching calls, and she was ready to sort of sign up. And I was really excited about it. And then I had to have a conversation with, she's a C-suite executive, and I had to have a conversation with the CEO who was going to be funding her coaching. And I'll never forget, I got on that call, and the first thing this person said is, "So you're a flute player?" And I didn't really have language to talk about what it was that I had to offer. And I remember Carolyn coaching me through that so beautifully. And she coached me about how to come back to the CEO with some really good language in an email, how to just navigate that whole conversation, and then also how to think about future conversations, which would be similar to that, which I now feel very comfortable in. And that client ended up signing on with me. She's still on my roster. She's one of my favorite, most dear clients. And that one sort of set of guidance from Carolyn paid for the school just right there, right before the school had even started. So it was so clear to me that the value of the school in so many levels, and I feel so grateful for that. One of the things that's wonderful about the school are all the guest faculty and all of the different perspectives that each person brings in. And especially for those of us that do the school largely remote on Zoom, there are these opportunities where there are these smaller groups that meet during lunch and, during the breaks. And sometimes some of the guest faculty will sort of pop in. And the amount of sort of gold that I've gotten from asking Lisa Husseini or Tarita Preston or one of the other coaches for a way through a scenario. And mostly it's been about helping me build really creative packages or creative ways of serving clients that just would never have occurred to me. So there's just a lot of creativity in that space that I found really helpful, inspiring, and has helped me think really creatively about ways I can meet people where they are, give them what they need, do it in a creative way, and have it happen in a way that fits inside of my business too. So it's like there's just so many of them, it's almost hard to point to any one in particular. And there was a consistent level of practical and creative service from the faculty to all of our participants, all the participants that really made an impact for me. So doing this work as a group of 50 or more coaches it's beautiful because there's some really major significant aspects to that are important. I mean, coaching can be isolating, right? It can be something that we do. Most of us are solopreneurs, right? We're a one person business. And so having a community of other people who are doing what you're doing and being able to just watch their struggles, their successes, there's a way in which this particular school makes a lot of space for people to be vulnerable and to be honest and authentic. That's so valuable because anytime you hear somebody else's story, there's a piece of it that resonated for me. And I found that comforting, inspiring, energizing, motivating. I have relationships with a lot of those coaches now that have extended beyond the school. There are some that I'm in very regular contact with and that we're building things together and we're using each other as sources of inspiration and of peer feedback and coaching. And it's just a beautiful community that's, everybody who signs up for that school is doing it because they value service. And so it almost guarantees that everybody shows up for each other in a way because we're already oriented in that way to start with. For anybody who's considering joining the school, I would say sign up early, get in when the doors open, like start at the beginning of September when all the calls start to happen, when the online groups opens up. It's just, there's so much value in the level of support and attention and care that comes from Carolyn and from all of the coaches on the faculty, I would say don't hesitate, get in early, get to work early, pay attention and learn from everything. You can get everything that you need from the school if you put your mind to it and you put your intention to it and if you show up really wholeheartedly and fully. And it's like the school will absolutely meet you 100%. If you put in 100%, it'll give you back that and more. And the sooner you can kind of get into that flow, I think the better. To pick a word or a phrase to describe my overall experience in the program, I would have to say transformational and uplifting. And I would just say that I have so much gratitude that not only did the school serve my business in important ways and the growth of my business in important ways, made it possible for me to make this enormous career transition and to do it from a place of security and stability and trusting, and that's just a priceless gift for me. If there was one more thing I wanted to add, it would just be specifically about Carolyn. I think she's just got a very special blend of practical, tactical, and then just this deep capacity for empathy, for loving, for compassion, for gentleness and humor. I think it's rare to find that particular combination. And for me, it was just exactly what I needed. I needed to be pushed, and I also needed that loving spirit inside of the coaching. And I guess the other thing that I want to say to that too is that one of the incredible values of the school that I think isn't talked about as much is just witnessing the coaching that occurs, being in the presence of the quality of coaching that Carolyn offers and that all the other coaches on the faculty offer. Watching them coach, for me, that was something that I didn't, that's not sort of stated as the intention of the school. And it is just an extraordinary benefit to be able to just watch these coaches do this work that they do at such a high level and to try to absorb that and to integrate that into my own work.